Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar Tadashri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar Tadashri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Vrindavan, you were here last Wednesday. Can you confirm it's text 33? Or maybe Antonella, were you here? No. No, he's right.
I think it is 33.
33, right? Yeah. Okay, page 480, text 33, most of your books. Yeah, it's an important verse. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 30th day of January 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 11 entitled The Universal Form, text 33 at the top of page 480. Tasmat Tvamuttishta Yasho Labasva Jitva Shatrun Bhungshva Rajyam Samriddham Mayavaite Nihita Purvam Eva Nimittamatram Bhavasavyasachin Tasmat Tvamuttishta Yasho Labasva Jitva Shatrun Bhungsha Rajang Samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. Dhammaraj, you want to try? Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. Vrindavan. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. Ras. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. Go ahead. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. No? Yes? Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajam samriddham Maya vaite nihita purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. Uh-oh. Tasmat, therefore, tvam, you, uttishta, get up. Yashaha, fame, labhasva, gain. Jitva, conquering, shatrun, enemies. Bhungsva, enjoy, rajam, kingdom. Samriddham, flourishing. Maya, by me. Eva, certainly. Ete, all these. Nihitaha, killed. Purvam eva, by previous arrangement. Nimitta matram, just the cause. Bhava, become. Savya sachin, O Savyasachi. Krishna, in the form of the universal form, says, therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Purport. Savyasachin refers to one who can shoot arrows very expertly in the field. Thus, Arjuna is addressed as an expert warrior capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies. Just become an instrument. Nimitta matram. This word is also very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan, and all manifestations are but accidental formations. There are many so-called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that, but there is no question of perhaps and maybe. There is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home. As long as they have the domineering mentality which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of the cosmic manifestation are under the superior guidance of God. Thus the battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of God. Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy. If one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, this last line is very famous, often quoted alone. Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Now I was under the impression, I may be wrong, that this Sabyasachi is talking about ambidextrous, that he can shoot with either, and it's a sign of great skill on the battlefield. That's what Prabhupada mentions here. But the word nimitta matram is key. It means just be my agent, nimitta matram. Just like Prabhupada would explain it like a hand, right? Our hand, we don't think twice about it. It does whatever we want. Everyone picks up this up and turn the page, whatever. If it doesn't do that, then it's diseased. Then it's causing trouble to the body, right? So we're like diseased hands and limbs. Krishna is Rishikesha. He's the Lord of all senses. And we're meant to be acting like those senses. In other words, his agents for his will. And then we're happy in our natural condition. When we don't do that and we rebel, then we become sources of pain. And we have to be removed from the spiritual world because we're a disturbance to the other devotees. So that's where we've been all this time. So what is the logic here? He begins this verse with the word tasmat. Okay, well, let's look at the previous verse. There's another famous verse, Kalos Miloka Chaikravida. Supreme Lord said, "Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." So Arjuna's hesitancy to fight in the battle because he wanted to see his grandfather, especially Bhishma Deva, and his teacher Drona, and all the other friends and relatives who were on the other side, alive. He didn't want to be part and parcel of their being slain. It's a fallacy. In other words, whether he fights or not, they're going to be slain. And he should. And the first lesson of the Bhagavad Gita is that ultimately nobody is slain. My famous little ditty, you may have heard. I don't think you've heard it before. Every body dies. Who can deny it? Everybody dies. Nobody dies. You see? It's pronounced differently. One is everybody, and one is everybody. I looked it up. Everybody means a person, right? So the person, the living entity, none of us die. Najayate mriyate vakadashan is text 20 in chapter 2. It's very famous, that I probably quote it all the time. Nahanyate hanyamane shirire. That last line of that verse is very pertinent to the battlefield, because the living entity is not slain when the body is slain. Now ultimately we're all slain. We may be slain by some disease or accident or old age, whatever it is, but the body ceases to function at a certain point. But we don't die as living entities. And understanding the difference between ourselves and our body is the first lesson in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is saying, none of these bodies are going back. I've assembled them on. My plan was, because this was, I was just reading the third canto, and the question came up. Uddhava is remembering Krishna's Leela to Vidura. And the question came up there, I think it was there, why didn't Krishna object in the sabha, the gathering, the assembly of all the Kurus and Pandavas and everything. And there was a gambling match. And it was a cheating gambling match, but Yudhishthira was so honest and so precise that he kept playing anyway, because if a Kshatriya is challenged to a gambling match, he has to accept it. So he was cheated. They lost the kingdom, they lost their wealth, they lost Draupadi, you know. And then Karna and Dushasana said, oh, now's our chance, you know. We can humiliate the Pandavas, and we can... Karna was going to get back at Draupadi for not letting him compete to win her. Anyways, the whole thing. So you know the story. They're pulling her out. So it was a horrible thing, and there was a big to-do in the assembly. But Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya did not object at that point, because they were beholden to Duryodhana for their maintenance and everything. So they didn't say anything, but neither did Krishna. Right, he was there also. He didn't object. You know, he didn't kill them. He didn't do anything. Why? Of course, eventually he saved it by manifesting his unlimited sorry. We know that. You know, so she wasn't humiliated as part of the pastime. But he didn't, you know, just wipe them all out for this atrocity, because his mission was to assemble all these demonic kings and all these soldiers on the battlefield and wipe them out. He says that. Vinashaya dushkritam. These are all dushkritam, just like Jarasandha. 17 times he kept bringing all his army, and 17 times they were all wiped out, but not Jarasandha. So he would come back again and again and again. So this is part of his mission. It may seem very cruel, but actually they're all blessed. Those who are killed by Krishna, or even just in Krishna's presence, achieve a higher destination. You know, and they're blessed by that. So anyway, here in this manifestation of the universal form, and now in time personified, he's revealing, I am the great destroyer. I have come here to destroy all the people who are here. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore, what's the point of your refusing to fight? Get up, you know, uttishtata, yasho labasra, and gain fame, become famous, and enjoy the kingdom. Bhungshva rajam samriddham, the opulent kingdom. They're already put to death by my arrangement, and you, Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. And so this is really an instruction for all of us, is that if we just become instruments of Krishna's will, which is what it means, after all, to be a servant, you see, that's our natural state. And Krishna is not asking us to kill anybody. The operative incarnation is Lord Chaitanya now. He's not killing anybody, but he's killing the demoniac nature in the heart. You see, what really counts is the heart. If you can reform a demon and make him into a saint, what's the point of killing? You see. So Lord Chaitanya came, Krishna came with Lord Chaitanya in order to spread the Sankirtan movement. And if we become part of that Sankirtan movement and agents for spreading this wonderful process of salvation and going back to God and purification, then we become very dear to Krishna. And we also go back, you know, to the spiritual world. So nimittamatam bhavisabhisachan. So this is all instruction for all of us. Just become agents in Krishna's plan, and our lives will be perfect, you know. And Prabhupada makes a point that there is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. And Prabhupada, you know, makes this very important point, as he does oftentimes, that this the cosmic manifestation is an opportunity for the living entities here, especially when we reach the human form, to come to our senses, to come in touch with a pure devotee, or Krishna himself in some cases, and get real knowledge, so we can suddenly stop our punak punaschavidacharvananam, chewing the chewed again and again in slightly different forms, meaning that that there's no ultimate taste there, but we hope against hope. You know, what is that prayer of Prahlad? He said, Nate vadu swartakatim vishnum durashaya ye baharartamaninas. In those two lines, he practically analyzes the whole material illusion and self-defeating endeavor. So what does he say there? Nate vidu. He's speaking to his father. His father is kind of a foil, you know. And he preaches to him essential lessons in Krishna consciousness. So he says te, not they. He's speaking about the previous verse. And his father he said, well, how did you learn all this? Where did you get all this knowledge? So basically he doesn't answer, but he says, don't worry, father, you'll never become Krishna conscious. Matir na Krishna paratak svatova mito vipadyete griha vratana. Says those who are griha vrata, meaning that they're taking a vow, they're very determined to try to enjoy materialistic family life, materialistic life. So they don't want to, there's no inclination to place their mind on Krishna. Matir na Krishna. Matir, they can't place their mind on Krishna for very long, in other words, as a goal in life. Either on their own, or if they come to a meeting, or somehow or other. Because they've taken a vow. I mean, they're very, very determined to try to enjoy material life. And because of that, Adanta Gobhir, their senses are out of control. Adanta Gobhir Vishatam Tamisram, and they enter more and more into darkness. And what are they doing? Punak Punascharvita Charvananam. In various different varieties, they're trying to enjoy the material energy this way, that way, this way, that way. Oh, is it communism? Oh, let's go with communism. No. It's capitalism, Let's do that, It's neither. It's, peace, whatever. But it's not Krishna. It's not really. They don't understand. And so, and then the next verse, which is even more famous, probably recorded all the time. Nate, they, who we just described, vidu svarta gatimi Vishnu. This word svarta is really important. It comes up again. It's a very simple word. Swa-arta, your real goal in life, what's really valuable. The whole problem is that people are putting value on things that have no value or even have negative value. That all of these material arrangements for happiness, even if it's in the mode of goodness, you're just constructing your own cage for your own jail, out of ignorance. The knots in the heart, it's sometimes called, how you're building so many attractions for different things in this world, and then those knots, those desires, bring you back again to try to enjoy again and again and again, and oftentimes it's subhuman bodies. So this is our basic dilemma in this world. So how to get out of it? So is Natevidu. So these verses describe it. So Natevidu Svartakadimi Vishnu. They don't understand the real goal in life is Vishnu, Krishna. Therefore, Durashya ye Bahiratamanina. Very illuminating. Durashya means hope against hope. An impossible to fulfill desire. To be happy and secure in this world is impossible. You can delude yourself that no, I got it made. I got a good bank account, nice job, happy family. I'm living in San Diego and everything. But here comes the earthquake. Here comes the disease. Here comes the pandemic. Here comes the worldwide economic depression. Climate change. We're importing our air now from the Arctic rather than from south. This is why it's so cold. This is just my speculation. But it's never been this cold, this long. I've been here 34 years now. In July I'll be 34 years. And we've had cold days, but never like day after day, all of this business. It's so what happened to my dream of living happily ever after in San Diego, California? I'm just saying, it's not my dream, but people. The point is, you can't really win on the material platform because time I am, always destroys everything. So, but these foolish people, they don't know that, and therefore, durashya, they're searching for something they'll never be able to achieve. Ashya means a hope. Dura is far away. It's like something's receding. Bahirarta maninath. Not svarta, but bahirarta, the external goals dictated by the mind, dictated by the senses, by the circumstances, what family you're born in, all these the external things. And because of that, he says, Andai Tandai Rupandiyamana. Every line in this verse is illuminating. The blind leading the blind. Someone, has these ideas, and he propagates it, and he starts a movement. And it's all the same thing, varieties of the same illusion. So that's the blind leading the blind. A child grows up, he's taught this and that. What else is he going to believe? He's helpless. Andaya upadiyama, and then tepisha tantamurudani badna. Then everyone, the teachers, the old, the young, everyone remains bound up tightly by the modes of nature and by illusion. So what's the solution? And there's these two verses. And he's preaching to his father, 5-year-old boy, this big man, mountain, powerful, threatening. And he says, Naishamatistavadurukkramanging spishakjanarta bhagamo yadarta mahiyasam paradojobhishekam nishkinchananam navanita yavat. So this yavat tavat, this is a nice, in the Sanskrit, you have these pairs of words, yatatata, which is very common in English. Just as, to create a simile, or a metaphor, you can. And this is yavat tavat, which is usually in a negative sense. As long as you don't do this, you won't get this. You see? Yavat is, you don't do this, then tavat, you're not going to get that. So they can be, the order in the verse can be either way. So it's nivitta tarshaya, no, that's different words. Naisham, na esham, as long as you do not, no, your mind, matis, naisham matis tavat urukramanging spishati. Your mind cannot touch, certainly not become fixed upon, the lotus feet of Krishna, as long as you don't do what he describes in the second part of the verse. Now, what is that fixing of the mind on the feet of Krishna? What is the value of that? Naishamatistabad urukramanging spishati. This is like even touching. Anarta bhagamo yadarta. This is a wonderful phrase. The goal, the arta, of getting rid of all the unartas. That's a very valuable thing. Anarta is, the lust, the anger, the greed, the illusion, the madness, the intoxication. All these things that are in the heart. There's like 6 enemies that you carry around with you. So it says, fixing the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna will destroy these. He will destroy them from within. But you can't do that as long as you don't do what he describes in the second part of the verse. So, Naisham Matistavat Urukrama, that's the name for Krishna, the great actor. It's the name for Vamana, whose appearance today is coming up. No, that's Abraham, sorry. He took big steps. Urukrama means big steps, huge steps. Urukramang dreams, the feet of the Lord. Naishamatis urukramangling spishit anarta pagamo yadarta. You can't get the arta of getting rid of all the unartas by fixing your mind on the loss, as long as mahiyasam, the mahiyasam is another word for like mahātmā, the great souls. Paradajo abhishekam means the dust of the lotus feet, means surrendering, placing yourself under the guidance of a realized soul who's very intimate with the Lord, who dwells at the lotus feet of Krishna, with its consciousness. Nishkinchananam navanita yava. Nishkinchana means who doesn't possess anything in this world. His only possession is the lotus feet of the Lord, a service like that. Navanita yava, as long as you don't bathe yourself in the foot dust, which is it's an emphasis of being humbly surrendering and placing yourself under the guidance. And that's what it means really to surrender unto Krishna, to render unto his representative, his dear representative. And Krishna declares that, is that those who are most dear to me are those who are serving my devotees and glorifying my devotees. So that's, Arjuna here, he has the opportunity to be directly instructed by Krishna. But it's the same idea, nimitta matram babasabhyasachin. Just become my agent and everything will be all right. Nobody's going to, everybody dies here, but nobody dies. It's a very, nobody's going to die. I just explained, they're all going to get a better future because the person himself is the soul and they never die. And Arjuna was put into the illusion so that the Bhagavad Gita could be spoken. He knows all these things. He's been incarnating with Krishna for millions of times. But he was in illusion, put into illusion, so Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita and he could become enlightened. And then finally at the end of the book, what does he say? The key words, Kadishye vachanang tava. My illusion has been destroyed by your mercy, and I will do as you say. And if we can honestly say to Krishna, Kadishye vachanang tava, I will do as you say, our lives will be perfect. It may not be easy to do it directly to Krishna, so we do it directly to his pure representative. And the same thing, we become agents of Krishna's will, and then everything becomes okay. And we're coming up on Arjuna's prayers after this, and I just want to let you know, the first verse I ever memorized, or near the first, was number 38 here. Whenever I read this verse, I flashed back 40 years, 45 years, more than that, till I'm coming from the subway to the Henry Street Temple, and I'm going through this verse. Tramati deva purushak purana tramasya vishwasya parang nidanam tvayatatam vishwamananta rupam. Now I'm forgetting it. Anyway, when we come out, I'll review it. Okay, any comments or questions on this important verse? Nimitta matram. Okay. Yes, please. But wait, we have microphones because there's an audience.
So it's mentioned that while the Mahabharata Yudh, everyone in the army, like whether it was in the Duryodhan's army or Arjuna's army, they proceeded to some other good kind of lok. So what we were doing at that time? So
what were we doing?
Yeah. So are we not?
I don't remember. Do you?
No.
Does anyone remember? It was probably a few hundred lives back.
Yeah. So are we even there or what?
No, he's not taking everybody in the universe back.
Yeah.
It's those particular humans. Even there's so many who aren't on the battlefield. Even human beings, outliers. Kirata, Hunanda, Pulinda, Pulkisha. So, but the fortunate souls who were there, they may not feel fortunate when their heads are getting chopped off, but actually, because Krishna's on the battlefield, they're dying in his presence. It's a very auspicious death, and exactly what their destiny is. It's hard to say. The same thing it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and some interpreters say, no, this doesn't mean that they go back to Godhead and get their original body, but that they progress there. They're on the way back, and it's a very auspicious death, So that's the idea. Okay, moving along. Text 34. Dronam cha bhishmam cha jayatratam cha karnam tatanyan api yodha viran maya hatang stvam jahimam yatishta yudyasva jeta sivane sapatnan. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. Purport. Every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but He is so kind and merciful to His devotees that He wants to give the credit to His devotees who carry out His plan according to His desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of a spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by His mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as His plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. And you can see how, I'm just thinking of Prabhupada's battle, of like starting this movement, coming to America, just getting out of India, he tells the story, that was hard enough. Getting the P form, getting the free ticket on the boat, and then by Krishna's grace, he had a connection where he could land at the pious Indian gentleman in Pennsylvania. He could, gather himself there for a few weeks and eventually come to New York. But he was confident because his spiritual master had told him to do this when they first met. And he was coming to him in dreams. And when he was preaching in India, he was still trying to do his business and maintain it and help out, and he was coming, take sannyas, take sannyas, take sannyas. And it was confirmed by his god brothers, And Prabhupada was reluctant to do it, even, But then he saw this is the plan of the Lord. He surrendered to it, and he, in his lectures that were being recorded, he said, "Now I can see. I had 5 children. Now I have 500, children taking care of me. Even on the material plane, it was good." So that's the real glory of the devotee, to surrender to the plan of Krishna, which may seem impossible and seem, how's it going to happen, and have faith that somehow or other Krishna will empower you to do it, or make the circumstances such that you will be able to succeed. The whole Bombay adventure, Giriraj Swami wrote a whole book about it. How they just getting the land and then building the temple, gathering the funds. I was in New York, and they were collecting money. They had the devotees going out, and of course they were doing books and other ways in order to get a building in Manhattan. Now today, to get a building in Manhattan, my God, how could they collect $200 million? Well, it wasn't that much at that time, but it was still a lot. And so they collected, and then Prabhupada said, "Oh, you have so much? Give it all to me. I'm going to use it for getting the land in Bombay." And it's not like the devotees said, "Oh, we've been collecting for the temple here in New York, forget it." And said that, okay, this is Prabhupada's desire, this is Krishna's desire, and they did it. And then they went back to collecting again. And finally they were able to get a temple in New York, in Manhattan. So this is the, in our own way, with our own capacities, to play a role in the mission of Lord Chaitanya and the mission of Srila Prabhupada, of becoming Krishna conscious, giving Krishna consciousness, and seeing Krishna consciousness spread in the world. It's really the only hope. The world is being overrun by people, who have its own material motives and misidentifying the place where they're born, and this nationalism is like such a destructive force. This is the land we're born and we'll die for it. That's Bhoma Ijidi. It's a verse spoken by Krishna. Prabhupada would quote it all the time. Yasyatma buddhi kunapetvi dhatuke swadi kalatradasa bhoma ijyadi yat tirtha buddhi saline nakarachit janeshu bhigyeshu saeva gokara. Those who take this bag full of blood, and bones and things as themselves, those who claim as theirs, as their property, the family, wife, and expansions like that, going to be swadi means thinking in mind. Swadi kalatra adishu, the wife and the family and all the property. This is my domain. It's the same thing as I'm king. Things. I'm the lord of all I survey. No, everything belongs to Krishna and is meant to be used in His service. And then he mentions going to a place of pilgrimage, not to here or there, not to from the saints who reside there, but just to take a bath. So there's always some sacred body of water there, where it's the Ganges or something, And then my pilgrimage is done, and you come back home. That person is like a donkey who carries the fodder for the cows. That's the other interpretation, or as a cow. In other words, it's not human consciousness. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. That's what the nationalism. So, Bhoma Ijadi. Bhoma is the land. Ijadi is worthy of worship. In other words, this is, I'm a German. I have German blood. I can, or whatever it may be. Go way back in my genealogy. It's the worst kind of, huh? Yeah, maha misidentification with the body. So if you get past that and you're identifying with the soul, we're all the same. We're all so what's our real nature as the soul? We have form, we have qualities, in our original form. We're servants of the Supreme Soul. And that's why all over the world, it's wonderful. Last time I went to Mayapur, it was quite a few years ago. But you have so many nationalities, and they're much bigger contingent than the Americans. Now anyway. In the early days, it was it's such a lot easier to get there from Russia and China. There's a big group, and so many others. And you can see this is the dream of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When will all the Americans, the Russians, and the Germans get together and chant Jai Hari Bol, Nitai Gauranga? And then it's a wonderful feeling to realize that it doesn't matter, your external identification, or whether you're rich or poor or anything. Just you're chanting together the holy name of the God, and that draws you all together, and that's the only hope for the world, really. Otherwise, it's just going to be destruction. So this is, therefore, get up and fight, become my agent, and then he's listing all these great, powerful, Dronacharya, he's the teacher, and of course Bhishma, Jayadratha. These are all famous and powerful archers and warriors, and they're very heroic fighters. They've all been killed by me already. You're just for Jetasi Renesapat. So you just fight and win the kingdom and do my will, and everything will be fine. And after this little soliloquy here, that's finished. Now Arjuna starts his prayers. It's going to be really very wonderful. You'll see. All right, we have a few minutes. Let's proceed. Sanjaya Vacha Etachutva Vachanam Keshavasya Kritanjali Vepamana Kariti Namaskritva Bhuya Evaha Krishnam Sagadgadam Bita Pranamya. Sorry, I forgot to tell you the page number. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trembling Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a faltering voice as follows. So you can see his relationship as a friend is now in the background. He's in awe and trembling. Purport. As we have already explained, because of the situation created by the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna became bewildered in wonder. Thus he began to offer his respectful obeisances to Krishna again and again, and with faltering voice he began to pray, not as a friend, but as a devotee in wonder. And then there's these wonderful prayers. Arjuna Vacha Stane Vishikesha Tava Pakirtya Jagat Parishyat Yanurajyate Cha Rakshangsi Bitani Disho Dravanti Sarve Namasyanti Chatsiddha Sangha. Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid, and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Purport. Arjuna, after hearing from Krishna about the outcome of the battle of Kurukshetra, became enlightened. And as a great devotee and friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said that everything done by Krishna is quite fit. Arjuna confirmed that Krishna is the maintainer and the object of worship for the devotees and the destroyer of the undesirables. His actions are equally good for all. Arjuna understood herein that when the battle of Kurukshetra was being concluded, in outer space there were present many demigods, siddhas, and the intelligentsia of the higher planets, and they were observing the fight because Krishna was present there. When Arjuna saw the universal form of the Lord, the demigods took pleasure in it, but others, who were demons and atheists, could not stand it when the Lord was praised. Out of their natural fear of the devastating form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they fled. Krishna's treatment of the devotees and the atheists is praised by Arjuna. In all cases, the devotee glorifies the Lord because he knows that whatever he does is good for all. Ah, Krishna. Hearing your name. So here we have the name of the Lord being glorified. And they offer you their respectful homage. The demons are afraid. They flee here and there. All this is rightly done. So you can see how, what a relief this would be, for the devotees to see righteousness being enforced and, brought about by Krishna's presence. And ultimately that's what he does. But in order to give the option for those to surrender to him and become transformed, he doesn't always just, wipe out the demons. Especially in this age, because practically everyone's demoniac. So what's the point? You just wipe everybody out. But he comes in such a way that the demonic tendency can be transformed. Because after all, everybody is ultimately a devotee. So become a demon, an opponent of the Lord, an atheist, is unnatural. Ultimately, it's like a disease. If the disease can be cured, why kill them? So that's what Lord Chaitanya is. He's come not with the bows and the arrows and the chakra, but he's come with the holy names, and the holy names are so powerful that they can transform the demons into devotees. They can purify the heart, because it's unnatural to be opposed to the Lord. We have to have that faith, and that's why when you kind of get a rhythm in Krishna consciousness, and you're moving along, and you feel that you're really drinking it in. It's nectar. That you can feel that this feels like I'm coming home, even though we haven't gone all the way home back to Godhead yet. Still, it feels like the right thing. That if you can just kick out the obstacles and become serious, then you can really come to a place of peace and joy as much as possible in this material world. And whatever negativities happen, you just let them happen and go on, and you don't falter in your will to practice devotional service. And we've seen that even recently. I always like to bring up this wonderful example of Rajendranath Prabhu, who retired. He spent years where he would work hard, and then 3 or 4 months out of the year he would spend in Mayapur, and he would learn a lot from Jananivas and go on pilgrimage and everything, and he became a very beloved figure there. And then suddenly, he comes. It wasn't COVID, but it was cancer, and he accepted it. And in a matter of weeks, he accepted it with joy. Actually, that he was ready, and he was able to be very calm and collected and Krishna conscious at the end. So it's possible. And sometimes I think, the way the world is going, my God brothers, God sisters, and others who have left this world early, they're lucky ones, rather than to see this whole place go up in flames, So. But whatever it is, we have to stick to the Lord and the chanting, and the praying. Anything can change. Okay, let's do one more. Kasmachate nanameran mahātmā Gadiyase brahmano pyari kartre Ananta deveśa deveśa Tvamakshadam sadasat tatparam yat. O great one, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O limitless one, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. Purport. By this offering of obeisances, Arjuna indicates that Krishna is worshipable by everyone. He is all-pervading, and he is the soul of every soul. Arjuna is addressing Krishna as mahātmā, which means that he is most magnanimous and unlimited. Ananta indicates that there is nothing which is not covered by the influence and energy of the Supreme Lord. And deveśa means he is the controller of all demigods and is above them all. He is the shelter of the whole universe. Arjuna also thought that it was fitting that all the perfect living entities and powerful demigods offer their respectful obeisances unto him, because no one is greater than him. Arjuna especially mentions that Krishna is greater than Brahma, because Brahma is created by him. Brahma is born out of the lotus stem grown from the navel in the abdomen of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who is Krishna's plenary expansion. Therefore, Brahma and Lord Shiva, who is born of Brahma, and all other demigods must offer their respectful obeisances. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that the Lord is respected by Lord Shiva and Brahma and similar other demigods. The word aksharam is very significant because this material creation is subject to destruction, but the Lord is above this material creation. He is the cause of all causes, and being so, he is superior to all the conditioned souls within this material nature, as well as the material cosmic manifestation itself. He is therefore the all-great supreme. You can see, Prabhupada is kind of getting in the mood, He's also These are like extended verses, these purports. He's just picking up on it. But it's really quite a, you can imagine the great opera, and people singing this, the Sanskrit. It's really what it is. It's the level that this is going on. It's very, and then the next verse I'm going to say, because this is the verse I memorized, Okay, any final comments or questions? Okay. Time to adjourn for Kirtan and Darshan and Kirtan. So hopefully the weather will be a little bit more agreeable tomorrow.